I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Rastel, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello, and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I'm your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as always by the lovely Miss Karen Rastel, best damn lender in the state of Indiana.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
I'm great today.
I feel like I don't have a great intro for today's show.
You said that before we started
recording.
I know. But I don't believe you.
It's not that interesting. I mean, I was going to tell a little bit of a story. And I think it's just because this is it's not a somber topic at all, but it's an important topic. I think it's something that's really, really important. The show, this whole show, At Home in Bloomington, not this episode, but the entire show, we talk a lot about community. Mm-hmm. And we want people to find their sense of community within a community. And I know that's something we both feel strongly about. And I think that no matter what line of work you or I did, we would always be involved in the community, volunteering and giving back. What are some of the things that you volunteer with?
With Habitat for Humanity of Monroe County, with NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Yeah. That's what I've limited. I'm down to two things now.
Yeah, you have to for sure. I know when I moved back to Bloomington, it's been almost 14 years now, and I got into real estate, and it was such a great opportunity. And I remember telling myself, I want to make sure I give back, because the community was so welcoming to me. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I'm going to find two nonprofits to get involved in. And that was sort of how I started off with that. And one of them was Girls Inc. And the other one was Bloomington Restorations, which has nothing to do with our guest, except that that's how I met her. Okay. Was that we actually both joined the board of Bloomington Restorations a long time ago, on the same day. That was a fun first meeting. We often reminisce about it. You remember it, right?
I do.
Yeah. I do. But I also wanted to tell another story, real quick. When I lived in Indianapolis in my late 20s, early 30s, I had just gotten divorced and I didn't have any friends. And I was looking for a way to get involved and just to meet people. And I found a group called the Indianapolis Ambassadors, and they provide a lot of volunteers for events all over the city and all different kinds of events. So if you were a nonprofit and you were doing a black tie event and you needed people to help run your silent auction, they would call Indianapolis Ambassadors, and ambassadors would put out the call and people would go. And it's fun because you get dressed to the nines to do this, fancy black tie event and, rubbed elbows with fancy people and that sort of thing. But they would also do, one of my favorite things we did was, there was a group of us that would go to IPS school. I can't remember the number now, but I think it was like 30 something, every Saturday morning for a good 3 months or so, from 9 to 11. And we would tutor kids. And you get the same kids every week. So you form this really great bond, and there'd be snack time in between. And it was just a really cool, because a lot of us were, in our early 30s and late 20s, we didn't have kids yet. So that was really fun. I got to help teach art classes at the Children's Museum. Okay. Just like someone doing a class and they need an assistant. So I would do that, which could be really fun. I would card people at the beer garden at the St. Joan of Arc French Festival. So, it was this huge gamut of all kinds of different things. Yeah. And so you got to kind of try out and experience things that you hadn't free, which is nice. And you got to meet a lot of people. And in fact, I met lifelong people. I was, people that I met, I was in their wedding. And so I've always said, gosh, I wish Bloomington had something like that, especially when you're newer to town or sort of that age range of late 20s, early 30s, when it's hard to meet people. It's a great way. And then I realized, guess what?
We do, right?
We do.
And I'm trying to think, I'm going to butcher it, but isn't it like the volunteer, oh my gosh. Network. Is it just Volunteer Network?
City of Bloomington Volunteer Network.
I feel like I've heard of that before, but anyway.
That's good. That's good. So our guest today is Lucy Shake, who is a coordinator, director of the City of Bloomington Volunteer Network. So welcome.
Thank you.
It's so fun to see you again after how many years ago that we were on the board of, it's probably been 10 years. I bet.
At least.
I bet it's been a long time.
Least, yeah.
So tell us kind of what's your elevator speech when people say, what do you do?
Oh, dear.
We can go up to the 30th floor if you need the elevator ride to be a little longer.
Right. Well, very shorthand. I think
I build communities. I help to build connections through engagement and civil and civic engagement with the community so that people can access ways to get involved very easily. And we do that at the Volunteer Network through our website, through support of the nonprofits that engage volunteers, and through outreach to actually go straight to the volunteers and let them know about what's going on in the community.
Yeah. So we're going to talk today about sort of the different services you provide to the nonprofit, services you provide to the public who want to get involved. But is what I was talking about with Indianapolis Ambassadors, I mean, that's kind of what you guys provide. It's very similar. Maybe not the black tie stuff, but.
Right. Well, I would say event support is the number one requested thing across the board. I was just looking at some stats the other day from opportunities on our website, and event support is way up there. Everybody who has an event knows it takes many, many hands to make that a success. And so that is something that all of our agencies are doing. But as a volunteer network, we might be a little bit different than what you were speaking about, because we just promote engagement. So we are a hub. Not really an umbrella, but a hub agency that it allows our partner agencies to post their opportunities. And then we go around amplifying their recruitment efforts. So we try to kind of broadcast and get out into the media all the ways to get engaged in the community. And that might mean that we're directing people straight to Girls Inc. or straight to Habitat. And then they take it on from there. So then they would plug you into their events or the opportunities that they have. So I don't really have one-on-one interaction with individual volunteers. Unless I'm having an event myself, then I would be recruiting them for myself. But really, I'm the cheerleader for our nonprofit agencies, schools, churches, government, anybody who is engaging our community members in service. And that's everything from commission members at the city all the way to maybe you're working in a food pantry with a daily or a weekly shift, putting cans on the shelf or doing something as physical as that.
Yeah, wonderful. I love that idea of supporting nonprofits. That's an idea that a friend of mine, we do a lot with animal rescue, and we've been talking a lot about, instead of creating yet another rescue, can we create some sort of organization that supports the rescues that are out there so they can be even stronger? Yeah. And so instead of recreating the wheel and saying, we need to create something that feeds hungry kids, how about we just create and, find ways to support and make the agencies that we have even stronger?
Yeah. And that's one of those heartbreaking issues where the tide is always coming in on more and more animals. And we do definitely have a lot of agencies here in Bloomington and some great innovative thinkers around that as well. Pets Alive came out of Bloomington, originally sheltering more animals whose time was up at a shelter or rescue. They switched and decided, what we're going to do? We need to stop the flood of animals. So we're going to change it and be that spay neuter for many, many counties. I can't even imagine.
Oh, it's all of southern Indiana.
It's like 20 plus counties now or something.
Yeah,
that's not a real stat.
No, but Carla Kamster and that crew over there do
fantastic.
They're inspirational for sure.
That's the great thing about Bloomington that I have noticed is people like you who see something, maybe experience it through your own engagement and then want to do more.
Yeah.
And then we have this environment here in Bloomington where you can create a new agency. Yeah. You can get your friends together and support a cause. You can do it in a different way. You can start a podcast if you want to bring in awareness. You can do, really, I think that's what I love about the Volunteer Network in the city of Bloomington is that it's a defining characteristic of our community is that we get involved in Bloomington.
That makes me think of another show. I swear we're going to do a show one of these days that tries to tie every single one of our shows together. We're going to tell a narrative through all 58 or whatever episodes we have. Could. Because when you were saying that, it made me think of the Community Foundation when we had Tina Peterson on. And that's a great way, too, if you're wanting to get involved in the community, you see a need that you could get a group together and start a fund through the Community Foundation. So I know we're digressing from your
There's
what
so
you
many
do.
ways you can give.
Yeah.
I mean, and funding is one of them, but I love these new dynamic ways of giving funding by your passion or maybe even social networking, where these, what is it, 100 women?
100 Women Who Care, yep.
Yeah. so fantastic.
Yeah, amazing.
Because it's a gathering as well. It's a time for people who are invested in our community to come together.
Yeah.
And then they also give money.
Right. And they learn about other organizations.
They learn and they're passionate and they get to present what they're passionate about.
When I was a board member at Girls Inc., we went to 100 Women Who Care. We joined because we wanted to just try and get the money, basically. But we went for about a year or so, and we did win, and it was life-changing for the organization because the amount of money that we got was a good, probably 15% of our annual budget. So it's
a networking event.
It's amazing.
Well. Mm-hmm. No, I was just I just heard about that 100 Women Who Care. I mean, just in the past 12 months.
Oh, really?
Yes. Someone was posting something about it, and then I start crying because I'm like, going into that event or whoever that recipient is, that money's coming to them.
Yep.
But I want to say, and we'll have to find this out too, that there was a previous podcast guest that mentioned Volunteer Network. As we're sitting here, I'm having deja vu. We'll have to figure out who that was.
Was it Emily Jackson, WFHB? Do you do stuff with WFHB?
It's very possible.
Emily.
We have a segment on WFHB called Activate.
That's what it is, because we were talking about WFHB, and this is really timely. We're recording this show in mid-January of 2020, so depending on when you're listening. But one of the big news items that came out this week is the Herald Times moving their printing operation up to Indianapolis, and there's a lot of discussion about. Boy, we are digressing today. But anyways, about losing our local news source. And I just kept reading that article thinking, okay, but WFHB is there and CATS is there. And there are local free volunteer run, that, do things like talk about what the Volunteer Network does.
Right.
So, can you talk a little bit about the history of when it started and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're actually asking me at the beginning of a really big year for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Volunteer Network started in 1980. It had a different name at the time. I think it might have been called the Bloomington Volunteer Action Center. But it started up because, if you remember, or maybe you don't, in 1980, it wasn't the greatest of times. It was a recession. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of pressure on...
Interest rates were like 17%.
There you go. House. There's the perspective. Yep. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
So we needed a lot more support for the people who needed it most. And our mayor at the time, Mayor McCloskey, said, hey, let's get this new program together. And they did that. I think it's right around our birthday right now. Okay. I think it was the beginning of the year. And so we're in our 4th decade of serving the community and being a priority of our community by being based in city government. We were only the second municipally based volunteer center in the nation at that time after
New York City.
And
I want to say that again because I think that's huge. We are only the second volunteer network organization, city-based, in the country, the entire country. And the first one was New York City, and little Bloomington, Indiana was number 2.
So we're pretty, it's a pretty progressive time. There was a lot of idealistic visions coming out of our local government, very kind of, they were just kind of creating a community that they wanted to live in, which I thought was really, really cool. And I read about the history because, of course, I was just a wee tot.
Yeah.
But it isn't something that we're very proud of being that progressive at the time. And the country has come around now. Yeah. So a lot of times you think of volunteer centers as being kind of like charming, hokey little places where you get hooked up with a food pantry or something like that, or only old people are volunteers. And that's really not the way it is, especially not in today's world. And the trend nationally is to have cities of service and chief service officers embedded in the government because it is such a priority for quality of life. And having livable communities now is to have people building those communities by engaging with those communities. And I love to hear you talk about your experience in Indianapolis with, you're at a time of life where you're looking for connection and you're looking for relationships and like, where do I belong in this community? Yeah. And you start with volunteering. Mm-hmm. You can only go out for drinks so many times.
Right. Yeah.
Before you're like, I want to do something. I want to make an impact. I want to connect with people who share my values, who want to spend their time in the way that I want to spend my time, whether it's on the trails or with puppies. And you find them by volunteering. Yeah. So it's a great way to support a community is to get engaged. And I'm engaged. To get engaged with the community.
Sure.
And, just kind of see yourself as connected. And I love that also you're talking about how we are all connected, all these common people that we know and places that we know and go. I think that comes from venturing out and getting involved and taking the risk.
Sometimes I wonder if Bloomington's a small town or if we just are a connected town. You know, I mean, because I just think, I joke and I say when I need to reconnect with my clients, I just go to the grocery store because they're there and I see them. Yeah. But I think in general, if you just step outside.
But I think it's both because neither of us were born or raised here. Right. I mean, we didn't grow up here. We came here for school, or whatever. But I just think, I used to always think that this was just a big city and I don't know if I could handle it because I came from a really small town with nothing, there's nothing there. And this was like big time. And then you get here and once you start getting involved and really just trying to, like you said, learn more about the community and the causes that you want to support, everyone is kind of all the same. And we are small, I feel it's a small town and it's just a well-connected small town.
And I feel like regardless of political views or religious views or things like that, we all still want the same thing. And, we're all still wanting, that great town where everybody feels safe and everybody feels supported and everyone has opportunity.
Yeah. And not to get too deep, but it really is, I'm just going to claim it. It's the purpose of life is to contribute and to share yourself.
To leave a legacy.
To just say, why am I here and what did I contribute? Yeah. And volunteering is one way you can do that. There are certainly other ways you can do that. But like you said, it's free.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, there's many bottom lines to it. You're building those relationships and resources that are going to serve you if you're going to stay. They're really going to serve you in the long run with many-fold.
For sure. So for the volunteers, and we're going to talk about this and then we'll probably have to take a break, but they can go to your website or Facebook and see all of the different opportunities. You've got calendars. And what's the website address?
Bloomington Volunteer Network.org.
Okay. Bloomington Volunteer Network. You got that.
Tried to make it easy. So you could just say
Thank goodness you didn't have to do the in.gov/this and that.
Yeah, that was a close call there. So BloomingtonVolunteerNetwork.org gets you there. If you put any combination of those words in the Googler, you can get it.
And opportunities for all ages.
Absolutely.
And I love that.
Yes. Because volunteering starts early. For me, it started with my family, like being a tag along. I was always in the back seat when my mom was doing Meals on Wheels and it just felt like natural, right? Yeah. But there's also ways that you can start to branch out as you're a young person. And I think it's involved in more school, things now that they're really getting kids involved and aware of the needs of the community. But, everything, a lot of it's family friendly up until around 13. So you're going to need an adult. Between 13 and 16, you've got more opportunities. And then if you hit 16, the lawyers back off and you're able to go out and actually walk dogs and, be on the habitat build site, but not on the ladder. So it starts to get more and more things that you can do. And which is great because those are the most idealistic people, the people that are going to save the earth and the world. And
we need to keep them positive.
Yes.
Those of us that are, at the tail end, we can be a little more jaded.
and they have the time and they're interested in building kind of their own connections to community to support wherever they're going to go in life. So maybe they're looking for an application to college and a letter of recommendation or something like that. And
we had Class 101 on as a guest last year, and they talked a lot about the importance of having that component when they apply for college and working with their clients to make sure that the kids are out there volunteering, not just to have it on their resume, but it gives them fodder for essays and it just gives them a bigger perspective.
Yeah. And we talk about it like with teens, just go out and practice, practice doing what you think you like. And you might discover that you like something else, or you might discover that you really, really like what you're doing. Or maybe you want to do it in a different way. So maybe you want to support the environment, but you don't like hot weather and being out in the woods. So maybe trail building isn't for you, but the Indiana Forest Alliance has an advocacy campaign that you're all about, and so you can kind of practice. Yeah. And there's no harm, no foul. You're not on a track for a major. You didn't apply for a job. It's all about self-exploration and then finding those people and places that it feels mutual. There's mutual support there, like you're doing for them and they're doing for you.
The show that we're actually promoting this week, which will probably be 5 weeks ago when you listen to this, if that's not confusing. But the Tivoli Theater, they use, it's all volunteer run over in Spencer. And they encourage the teenagers to come in because they feel like it teaches them job skills so that when they are ready to go out and get a paying job, they've kind of learned about showing up on time and customer interactions and things like that. So, very practical sense as well as sort of the bigger idealistic. So.
Yeah, and Spencer is a beautiful example of a community that has stitched itself together with a core through engagement. Whether it's the festivals on the square or Spencer Pride or the Tivoli. Those people are putting in the time and we're not being paid for that. But the community payoff is immense.
I mean, that's an entire movie theater that's run by volunteers. They have like 1.5 paid employees, and that is it.
And it's gorgeous.
And they run a movie theater.
It's like $5.
Yeah, right. I know, it's insane. Anyways, all right, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the resources that you have available for nonprofits, and hopefully maybe you can share a few of this, just some more examples of volunteering opportunities, so we can maybe hit on something and spark a new fire in someone. So stick around. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know one of the most underutilized loan programs is a Veterans Administration loan? Whether you're active duty or retired, you may be eligible for a VA loan with no mortgage insurance and no down payment. It's an honor to assist veterans who have served our country. To see if you qualify for this incredible option, contact me today at 812-606-7653. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines, equal housing lender, NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist. Practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. For many home buyers, especially first-timers, you've got good jobs and great credit, but maybe not a ton of cash in the bank. On top of any potential down payment, you often have to come up with $3,000 to $5,000 in costs associated with obtaining the mortgage and closing the home sale. Yikes. Asking for seller-paid closing cost assistance is a very common way to get help with the cash needed to close the sale, but it's important to understand a few things. Number one, a buyer must ask for the closing cost assistance as part of the initial offer, and it's important that you ask for a specific amount. $2,500 or $3,200, whatever, the seller must be able to evaluate your offer and know exactly what their bottom line is. Ask your lender for how much closing cost assistance you can use. If you ask the seller for more than you need, the money goes right back in the seller's pocket and you've potentially overpaid for the house. Number two, most sellers care about their bottom line. Closing cost assistance is not free money. Here's an example. If a seller wanted to sell their house for $100,000, but a buyer asks for $3,000 in closing cost assistance with an offer of $100,000, that will feel like an offer of $97,000 to the seller. So you may need to offer $103,000 so that the seller nets $100,000. Make sense? And number three, hey sellers, don't be that one seller out of 100 who refuses to accept a buyer's request for closing cost assistance. It's very common amongst buyers. Evaluate your bottom line and negotiate accordingly. I've seen some stubborn sellers refuse to work closing cost assistance into the sale and pass up a really solid buyer. For more information on how closing cost assistance works, listen to my Real Estate Today podcast, episode 83. You can find it on iTunes, YouTube, and my website, www.athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Joe Reinhardt, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. Deb helped us to sell a property that we had previously listed, for which we were unable to even generate an offer. Deb's responsiveness, professionalism, and her aggressive marketing strategy led to multiple full-price offers for our listing. And that's why I think Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington. Before we continue our conversation with Lucy Shake, Director of the City of Bloomington Volunteer Network, I have our throwback episode, and I'm going to tie it in. and I think I could tie almost every single one. Well, which one did I choose, right?
But we've done a lot of tie-ins.
I know, we've been tying in like crazy, yes. Right? So this one's like, I thought this one made a lot of sense, and then, but on the website, so over break we were talking a lot about the website, the Volunteer Network website, yes. And all the resources and all the different ways to search, and we're going to talk about that. But one of the things I found was that there's also a community wish list. So I was clicking on that, and of course I'm in this like spring cleaning, January cleaning mode, right? New year. I don't have an office right now, so I had to like do some massive cleaning out and organizing. And I thought that is a great place to go before I like throw anything out or take anything to Goodwill or whatever. And it made me think of Cheryl Smith and Consider It Done.
I was going to say that, and then I thought, no, what if that's not the one you're going to say?
Right, which was episode 29 when we talked a lot about organizing. One of the big things that's been stressing me out in my house is old cell phones and old laptops.
I know.
And I know you've got the Volunteer Network has all kinds of suggestions for cell phones, Middle Way House and other places that can use them if they're functioning cell phones. And so I was like, that's a great tie-in because I think Cheryl probably uses that resource as well when she's helping people get organized. But you're right. I mean, there are a million.
I just told my husband over this past weekend, I said, we need to have Cheryl here. And he goes, we don't need to have people we know come in here to help like sort through. I'm like, but we do. Like, we need the help. Yeah.
I know. And then Cheryl just posted like literally an hour ago on Facebook, and I'm sure Instagram too, about that decluttering doesn't mean moving things from your house to your car. And then letting them stay in your car, right? Oh. And I was like, oh, she is looking in my trunk right now because my method is, so I have clothes, I take them to Style Encore to see what I can sell. So I'll take them 100 things, and we'll take them 100 things, and then they'll take 11 of them, and I'll feel really good about that. And then they go back in my car, and then I debate, and then I have to transfer them to another bag so I can take them into my sister's closet is where I typically take them. Mm-hmm. Well, my sister's closet isn't open on Sundays, so it's now Tuesday. They're still in the back of my car, but that's my excuse. But I was like, she's looking at me. She's judging. No, she's not.
I feel so close to you right now.
Right? I know, right? It's like we're the same person, aren't we?
Well, at least you got yours out of your house. I declutter one space in my house and then to the other room.
Yeah.
And I did that right around the holidays.
You just move it from one room to the next?
Yes, because I needed like that space to be, yeah. Well, then the next thing I know, we were having visitors, which I was not expecting to happen 3 days later. So then that resulted in all this stuff in this room now has to go somewhere else. But
it's not decluttering when you move it.
And that's when I said, we need Cheryl to come in here. And
yeah, that didn't fly.
But yeah, so wish list to get rid of
cell phones and all kinds of stuff. So before you are, I know, I've got a big box working at my house right now for Teacher's Warehouse as well.
That is the best. I love that because I always end up with all these pens, pencils, folders. Yeah. And actually, Sue Cole from Teacher's Warehouse just contacted me the other day and said, we need used pencils. And I'm like, you are kidding me.
What?
I am your girl.
Yeah. That's crazy.
They need used pencils. So, I mean, they really will take anything that still writes or can write on. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
Check them out.
The other one, because I just changed real estate brokerages, and I had some tchotchkes, I guess you would call them, but I had these little tape measures. They're in the shape of houses. And the tape measure kind of comes out like it's smoke of the chimney. They're really cute, but they're branded a different company and I can't really use them. But there are teachers at Fairview who use them. They have boxes of just little prizes when the kids, meet a goal or get a good score or something, they get to go over to the box and pick something. And it could be, tape measures. It could be pens. It could be a packet of Post-it notes. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And so they collect them. They love to get them from local businesses. And I had given them some tape measures about a year ago, and apparently they were a big hit. So I went over with a bill bag and was like, here you go. So hopefully everybody around town will have a Tomorrow tape measure.
That's a great idea.
So that's something to think about too. Anyways, okay, focus. Let's talk a little bit more about the website, because I think there was some really good stuff that we were talking about over break in terms of how you search, because Karen was saying it can get, like, she's looking at the page and it's like, okay, now I'm a little overwhelmed because there's so many opportunities. You work with over 300 organizations.
Yeah, it kind of flexes between 300, 350 organizations, depending on what their needs are and how current they are. But yeah, when you have that many organizations, you're going to have a lot of opportunities and it can be overwhelming. So we do have a search feature on both the opportunities page and the organization page. for either cause. So if you're kind of looking for a certain cause area to explore what's going on in Bloomington, and there's a lot that you wouldn't even think of because there are so many grassroots organizations here. So you know about Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Sure.
But do you know about Thriving Connections? You know, that's a home.
We've talked about Thriving Connections.
Yeah.
I guess.
Right. And so you can really find your custom opportunity, your perfect match, and have a couple to shop from, you know, so they might have an orientation or a training and you can check that out first. But it's really a way to make your custom list, even by age, by location. We have a map feature where you can see where the organizations are located, because that is a real issue. You know, you might be more comfortable being closer to where you are, or maybe you're just like, I can't get downtown at that time. So
and I know you've even got opportunities at one of our other show guests. Here we go again, Uplands Peak Sanctuary.
Oh, yeah, way out there.
Yeah. So that's, you know, location matters on that.
It does. And you have to schedule that into, you know, what you want to do. It needs to be convenient for you to do when they need you, or consistently if that's required for the opportunity.
So we were having a conversation over break about getting kids involved. And that might be one of the great ways to get a kid involved. If you can get them to sit down with you and say, let's put in some search words of things that you like. So whether that's kittens or whether that's, you know, robotics, I'm sure that, you know, there's stuff like that out there. And so that can maybe get the child to have more buy-in in what they're doing.
I was just here thinking of my son, and that would have been awesome if we could have done that for like puppies or just to be around animals before us just jumping in and rescuing a little puppy. But that would have been, I think that was a wake up call for how much work that was for him. That I think he would have maybe like prepared, instead of pushing us for, you know, a couple years to get one. That would have helped him kind of develop those skills and really understand the commitment it is for an animal.
Awesome. So let's shift gears a little bit, because I also want to talk about the resources that you offer for the nonprofits. And that's not just getting the word out for them, but you have other resources to help the nonprofits grow and be strong. So what are some of those services?
Right. So my primary constituency are the organizations, because what we want every volunteer and every person to have is a good experience once they go to the organization. So we really work with the partner organizations to have trainings, to have networking opportunities so that they can share with each other and know each other, because it's pretty exclusive to be the engagement coordinator in an organization. That person's often wearing many hats. It might even be the director. It just depends on the size and the structure of the organization. So we try to support them in what they're doing to engage the community and the organization, and to really build that capacity. That's the buzzword of the day, is like, how can we leverage volunteer engagement to build the capacity of our organization? So it's not anymore like the volunteer coordinator sitting over in the corner and they're doing this nice to have thing. And then donors are really up on in the throne. It's very much integrated, because we need to have community involvement in our organizations. And there's a learning curve to that. I don't think all organizations have that kind of modern model right now. And so we're all learning together, and kind of as the millennial generation is coming on, there's different expectations about how we communicate, what technologies we're using or not using. No more is the reminder call in the evening. Nobody's going to answer their phone. You need to have a push on a push notification on a cell phone. And there's a lot to learn there. So we gather people together, our partner organizations, and we have a newsletter. We have training opportunities. We're working up a big 40th year conference coming up later this year, and to have everybody come in and get to network together and support each other.
That's great. We love how the nonprofits help each other and work together. So if you are a nonprofit, how do they get connected with you?
So they go to the same website, bloomingtonvolunteernetwork.org, and they click on nonprofit resources, or actually on the front page right underneath Volunteer Now, it says, I'm an organization and I'd like to recruit. You click on that link and you can sign up. So if you're a nonprofit, or even we have some for-profit organizations, like, for instance, nursing care facilities who utilize volunteers in their programming. Again, they're not replacing staffing, but if you can augment maybe their activities, friendly visitors and things like that. So we work across the board with every kind of organization, not just nonprofits. They can sign up and then they can just start posting.
Oh, it's that easy.
It's a free service for our community members. We really don't want to put that barrier there. If you go to a larger city, I've seen trainings costing $150, $75. I don't think we've ever gone over 40, and that was probably for a full day training. We're just trying to, provide these resources because again, it builds community and being housed in City Hall and as a citizen service, we're there to build community and not to create barriers to building community. Right. And so that's really a privilege to be able to do that and to provide that for our nonprofits because ultimately it ends up in better experiences for people like you who are like talking about your experience with engagement years later and saying, I know that I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed the things I did, and the experiences have stayed with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's talk. Did you have a question? You look like Karen. You look like you were asking a question.
No, I was just kind of taking notes on that part. Because my question but you've just asked it was how organizations can become a part of it, but it seems so simple. I didn't know if there was going to be like a review and then they need to,
approve and
approve.
That kind of thing.
But
I do check them out. We ask for their links and their social media and their contacts and stuff. And I if I have not heard of them, some may just not be connected, but they may have been longstanding organizations in the community. I know about them. And again, I've been at this job for 20 years.
Half of the life of the organization,
the
network.
I've heard of most of them, but like you were saying in the break, there's new ones coming up all the time. One of the cool things, not so cool for people who aren't in our community, is we only do local. Like if you go onto Volunteer Match or Idealist, they do national. And I refer people to national if they're like, hey, come build houses in Zimbabwe. Like, that's great, but unless you're based here or you have volunteer
local chapter here.
So chapter.
Alzheimer's Association, you support, even though that's a national, because they've got a local chapter,
right? Or a walk or a run.
But you're not helping people find volunteers in Belize to.
No, especially if their mailing address is in Belize.
Yeah, right.
It's like, hey, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Here are a couple places where you can post that and people can find you, but it's not on our local because again, keeping that list tight and to say this is our local resource and anything that you have as a hit on here is going to be either in our Monroe County or in a commuter kind of zone, or it's so different, like the farm sanctuary that's just 40 minutes outside of town. We'll feature those, but we do not go looking for anything, or we actually say, sorry, this isn't the one for you.
Yeah, but I think to be sustainable, you have to kind of do that. We've just got a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we touch on the Be More Awards because I think that's really fun. How long has that that awards program been going on?
This will be the 37th year.
Oh, it's that long? I had no idea.
Yeah, so it hasn't been called...
No, if our listeners could see the faces we just made, really?
Yeah, so it hasn't been in the same format exactly. It's had different funders, so it's had different names, but our community celebration of volunteers has been happening for 37 years, and it's always in the spring, March, April, kind of in that zone, so that we still have the students in town, but we're out at the big push of MLK Day and midwinter, so we can put on our nice clothes. And stuff. Right. Don't worry about snowstorms.
Yeah.
But it's wonderful, and it's now down at the Buskirk Chumley Theater
They've been a
evening.
Guest.
It's free and open to the public. And if you're feeling down about the world, I really suggest you come out to the Be More Awards because I say it's the best dose of like warm fuzzies. Hearing the stories, it's almost like the testimony of people who volunteer and have gotten as much out of it as they've given and feel really great about it. It's really hard to it's really hard to put volunteers in the spotlight because a lot of them don't do it for them.
Yeah.
I'd say the majority of people.
But you bribe them to come on stage by giving them a $500 to the organization that they're supporting. So that's what that $500 is. It's a bribe.
So we're all in cahoots. The organizations will nominate their volunteers. If their volunteer is selected, the organization receives the $500. But then that volunteer is so proud to be a representative of that organization and to bring that to them. And then our community has really chipped in. Like you said, the Community Foundation is our funder for those $500 checks that goes out. They do all of those. We also have WTIU, IU Credit Union, United Way, and the Volunteer Network and our department at the city, Community and Family Resources. So it's really, it's really a neat bringing together of all these connections that we've just been talking about. Yeah. Like you said, you get together in Bloomington and everybody knows everybody. Right. Well, on this one night, they're all in the same auditorium. Yeah. And they're just patting each other on the back and feeling good about life.
And there's a bunch of different categories. So there are categories about working with kids and working with...
We have a student category, a lifetime category, which is really that big one, the Volunteer of the Year. We have sustainability. We have animal welfare. We have board and committee work, which is often overshadowed. But man, some of the hardest work.
Yes, right.
People on those board and committees. Yep. We have group and family. We have youth. Yeah. There's just all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. So it's a whole evening. And I think it's a great way to, if you read about past winners, it's a way to get inspired. That sounds like something I'd really be interested in doing because it,
Well, I feel like I'm trying to figure out why we are so shocked it's been around for 37 years, but I feel like I've seen more advertisement or more promotion about the awards or the nominating process than I ever have, like in the past couple of years.
Yeah, but that may be social media and some of the
that's probably coming through their sponsors as well because they're so proud of being a part of it. It's a great way for businesses to engage in this engagement community is by sponsoring such a an event like this.
That's awesome. So let's recap. Website, tell us again.
BloomingtonVolunteerNetwork.org.
And that is the best way to connect. You can send emails and ask questions, find opportunities, register your nonprofit, see what nonprofit training opportunities there are. It's a really, really a great resource. And the wish list. Yes. So before you throw anything out or donate anything to Goodwill, take a look at the wish list. So that is should be a key place. I want to thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it. I just want to encourage everyone to go out there and support the nonprofits that are doing the hard work. And even if it's, from an hour a year to an hour a week or an hour a day, there are opportunities at all levels. Don't be like, I have to tell the story real quick. I dated this guy for a minute, like literally a minute. And I was up in Indianapolis and I was trying to get him involved in volunteering. Because he wasn't doing any. I was like, build your resume or whatever. This is good. It's fun and you'll get out and be social. And he's like, no, my time is worth something. And then I dumped him. Because
that tells you a lot.
Yeah, right. Because what you get out of it is so much more than what you put into it.
You don't even feel like it's not even time. Like you don't even feel like that. And you guys do have social media.
Yes.
Okay. So Facebook, Instagram. Okay.
We tweet every once in a while.
Yeah. That's about what we do too. I hear you on that. Okay. So check it out. All right. Promise me? Okay. Yeah. All right. As long as I promise it. All right. Thanks for tuning in and we'll be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington. Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.